In the late 90s, a professor at Berkeley did an interesting experiment. He got together a group of people with the same background, same level of education, and same economic strata. Essentially, a matched set of individuals. He then divided the subjects of the experiment into two halves. One half was given an old dented Mitsubishi, and the other half was given a new luxurious Mercedes. Then, one by one, each participant of the study was asked to drive the car given to their group. As each of them drove on a designated route, they approached a zebra crossing where a pedestrian was just stepping off the pavement onto the road. Do you think that the behavior of the participants in the two halves would have been different? If yes, how different? You'll be surprised with the results. Listen to this story. I read this story in an article published a while ago in the Founding Fuel newsletter. You will find a link to subscribe to this newsletter in the comments. Hi, welcome back to Stories at Work, a series where I share real stories from across the world that you can use when you want to drive home a business point. Our website, storyworks.in, already has over 100 stories, and we're adding one every week. Let's start today's story. To understand the context of the story, one needs to understand the premise of the famous book called The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. It is a seminal work of political philosophy originally published in 1532. The book is often regarded as a practical guide to the ruthless and strategic exercise of power. It is addressed to Lorenzo de' Medici, the ruler of Florence at that time, as a sort of advice on how to maintain power and control over a principality. One of the core ideas of the book is that rulers should be shrewd and cunning and able to manipulate others when necessary, and when necessary also be ruthless. The other is the argument that the end justifies the means. Over time, the word Machiavellian has come to mean cunning, scheming, and unscrupulous. Now for the story. In the 1990s, Dacher Keltner, a professor of psychology at Berkeley, became interested in the psychology of power. As he started his research, he noticed two things. One, almost everyone believed Machiavelli was right. And two, almost nobody had done the science that could back it up. Keltner decided to be the first. He decided to do a few natural state experiments. A natural state experiment is a study in which individuals or cluster of individuals are exposed to the experimental and control conditions that are determined by nature and not by any stimulus provided by the researcher. In the first few experiments, Keltner infiltrated a range of environments where individuals competed for dominance, from hostel dorm rooms to summer camps. He was expecting to see Machiavelli's principle in action. But to his surprise, behaving like Machiavelli's prince didn't win anyone any favor. In these mini societies, arrogance was quickly punished. People assume that you're a jerk and shut you out. The individuals who rise to positions of power, Keltner found, are the friendliest and the most empathetic. It's the survival of the friendliest. Now you may be thinking, this professor guy should drop into my office and meet my boss. That'll cure him of this little theory about nice leaders. But wait, there's more to this story. Keltner also studied the effect of power once people have it. And that's when things changed. In one study, Keltner and his team looked at the psychological effect of an expensive car. Here, the first set of subjects were put behind the wheel of an old dented Mitsubishi and sent in the direction of a crosswalk or zebra crossing where a pedestrian was just stepping off the curb. All the drivers stopped as the law required. But in the part 2 of the study, subjects got to drive a luxurious Mercedes. This time, 45% failed to stop for the pedestrian. This study has now been replicated twice with similar results. In fact, those studies showed that the more expensive the car, the ruder the road manners. BMW drivers were the worst, one of the other researchers told the New York Times. Observing how the drivers behaved, Keltner eventually realized what it reminded him of. The medical term is acquired sociopathy, a non-hereditary, antisocial personality disorder first diagnosed by psychologists in the 19th century. It arises after a blow to the head that damages key regions of the brain and can turn the nicest people into the worst kind of Machiavellian. It transpires that many people in power display the same tendencies. They literally act like someone with brain damage. Not only are they more impulsive, more self centered, more reckless, more arrogant, and ruder than the average, they are also more likely to cheat on their spouses and less attentive to other people, less interested in others' perspectives. They are also shameless, often failing to manifest that one facial phenomena that makes human beings unique among primates. What is it? They don't blush. Power appears to work like an anesthetic that makes you insensitive to other people. What a story. This is a great story to remind people that as they move up the hierarchy and achieve more power, they need to be mindful about the Machiavellian tendency that might creep in. While there are many leaders I've met who haven't changed over the years despite moving up the power ladder, I've also seen people change. And perhaps they are doing it without being conscious of how their behavior is changing. This story can be told to get them thinking about their behavior. This story is also a reminder to each one of us that this phenomena is something to keep in mind and think over each time we advance up the ladder and get more power. I hope you found that story thought-provoking and useful. And if you did, there are many, many more on our website, storyworks.in. Bye for now. See you next week.